Good evening and welcome to Nashville. I'm Alan Jackson. There's a lot of reasons why President Trump and his team are trying to clear the country of the millions of migrants who came here illegally. The crime, the drugs, the children being used for hard labor, the cost that we've all had to absorb for the cities that feed and house them with the taxes that we pay. And there's another extremely important reason that we're watching unfold right now. The Democrats are trying to fill certain state populations with enough people on their side of the aisle to water down the number of Republicans and ultimately to turn Congress into a Democratic stronghold for the rest of time. Not on policies, but of course just on sheer numbers. Well, first they opened the borders to flood the country with people who collect around areas where they can most easily find food and housing. That's our cities. Then they redraw the lines where Republicans live and include areas with a lot of immigrants. It can be done because the law requires the Census Bureau to count all residents, not just current American citizens. It's a lot to absorb, but when you see Democrats scrambling to get back into power, not with policies, but with protest and any other way they can, it's a whole lot easier to see. Which brings us to our guest this evening, Cooper Smith from the America First Policy Institute. Welcome back, Cooper.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, first, you're the Director of Communications at AFPI. So I want to start by asking about the various ways that Democrats are trying to take back power. What are you seeing these days?
Well, you mentioned in your opening monologue, Alan, what's going on in Texas and the redistricting fight. And I think from AFPI's perspective, it's awfully rich and ironic that the party that for decades has counted illegals as part of the census, as you accurately described, is now complaining that legislators in Texas who are lawfully elected and are there to do their job are doing what Democrats do in many other states, California, Illinois, and New York as an example. So it's terrible what's happened with the census, because you're right, we count all illegal immigrants, which affects not only the amount of congressional seats that we have, but also money that flows into these districts. So when we're counting illegal immigrants, say in California, we're actually padding Democrat numbers, but we're also sending more federal dollars to those districts, to people who are not American citizens. So I think we are right to be concerned. And back in 2020, President Trump then tried to fix this for the 2020 census. And of course, the left sued him. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to get that over the finish line. So I think he's finishing what he started back in 2020.
So the Democrats are scrambling to get attention any way they can. You know, I think the idea of flooding the country with people who are here illegally has always been a part of Democratic strategy to increase their numbers, even if it means counting people who skip the immigration process. Republican Senator Bill Hagerty spoke about it when he referenced a New York congresswoman who was caught on camera saying exactly that. Listen to what he said.
Americans are fleeing blue cities and states en masse because of bad government. But congressional seats are allocated based on population. So if you're losing population, you either have to backfill it or lose congressional seats. This representative stated that because of her population loss, she needed to fill her district of the illegal aliens to keep from losing her seat.
You know, for the Democrats, it seems it's not about ideas, it's all about power now, isn't it?
I think it always has been for them, and the illegal population in this country is very hard to count. You'll see estimates ranging from anywhere from 11 million to upwards of 25 million. At AFPI, we think that during the 4 years of Biden, it's almost undeniable that about 12 million people came into this country. And just for reference, Los Angeles County has about the same amount of people. The state of Wisconsin has about 6-7 million people. So we're talking about double the population of Wisconsin. And those are just the people that Border Patrol, CBP know about. Those are the encounters, the people that they saw on camera or otherwise sensed. Yet what we really have to worry about too is the folks who evaded that and probably paid extra money to the cartels to do that. So those people didn't want to be seen. They probably paid cartels a little bit extra, 5,000 or 10,000 more to evade, go through around the ports of entry. That's often going to be a terrorist, human traffickers, drug smugglers, as you mentioned in your opening monologue. And yes, child trafficking, which we've seen exploded under President Biden. And unfortunately, the media covered this up at the time. I think human trafficking is something that you've covered and I think is one of the biggest stories of my lifetime and our lifetimes.
Yeah, I agree. The Texas Republicans seem to have turned the scheme back on the Democrats lately. They came up with a plan of their own to do what the Democrats have done for years, redraw the maps to dilute liberal strongholds. Democrats took off to some very blue states, and they won't come back to vote on the new maps, even with the threat of losing their jobs. How do you think this is going to play out?
I think it's going to play out how it played out every time they've done this in the past. I was working in Wisconsin when they did it in 2011, when then Governor Scott Walker was trying to pass some union legislation. They left and went to Illinois. Well, that legislation ultimately passed. Then Indiana Democrats did the same thing, I think a year later in the same year, around 2011, 2012, on a right to work bill, I think it was. Well, that bill ultimately passed. Fast forward to 2021, Texas Democrats fled the state back then. Ultimately, the bill that they were protesting passed. So to me, the American people are on the side of people going to, voting for legislators, going to a state capitol, voting yay or nay on a bill, and then that's what we live with. That's a system that we've all agreed to. We pay taxes for it every year. So I think the American people are disgusted by political showmanship and kabuki theater that we're watching unfold with Texas. I'm absolutely loving what Governor Abbott, the signals that Governor Abbott has been sending, threatening to bring them back, threatening prosecution, bribery charges. I think that's important because they cannot get away with it. But even if they do, the American people will not let them. And this redistricting plan will, I'm sure, ultimately be passed if passed is present.
This fight looks like something the Democrats might fight to the finish. As I said at the opening, lacking any real issues that would keep them in power, they're throwing whatever they can at the system. The lawfare, the reckless protests, the pushback on deporting the people who are here illegally. Isn't it likely that they're making so much noise about the illegals because this may be their last chance in a long time to take back power in the House?
100%. And it's funny because you mentioned that they've said this, the kind of quiet part out loud. Well, they've been saying it for decades. Remember, back after Obama won in 2008 and 2012, they said, due to demographics, which was their favorite term, but of course we all understood it in the conservative movement to mean illegal immigration. Due to demographics, there's going to be a new Democrat majority that's going to take over for 50 years. Well, that ultimately didn't happen because of a very skillful politician named Donald Trump, but the plan was laid out. We want illegal immigration. We're going to promote it. And you see now, after their categorical defeat in November, all 7 swing states, the popular vote, they're not changing their tune on immigration. If anything, they're leaning in further. They're trying to pass bills, for example, right now in the House, Democrats are, to force ICE agents to take off their masks when doing immigration operations. Well, they're wearing masks because their families are being threatened, because their lives are being threatened, because they cannot do their job without their masks on. The only reason they're wearing them is because of progressive politicians who are calling them Nazis and Gestapo and comparing them to the KKK like Kamala Harris did, until she ran for president and claimed to be like a border state prosecutor. And I'm going after the gangs and all that stuff. And of course, the American people thankfully didn't buy that. But this has been going on for decades. And I think we should learn from that and understand that you're right. Political power is all they have. It's all that they want. They don't have it right now. And the only way that they view to get it back, apparently, is through illegal immigration, which is just such a catastrophe, not just for the American people, our culture, our economy, border cities, but also for the immigrants themselves, the people who are fleeing states. They get raped, murdered. They're giving their life savings to come here because politicians have sold them a lie that they're going to be welcomed when they get here. So I think it's a tragedy for everybody involved.
Well, there's more to this topic that I'd like to go over with you. Cooper, can you stay for another segment?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, I'll be right back. I'd like to extend a personal invitation to join us for our Culture and Christianity Conference. It's September the 19th and 20th on our campus here at World Outreach Church, just outside of Nashville. We've chosen 3 specific topics to explore with a wonderful group of guests. We're going to talk about the church and our expected impact in this culture, the media and their impact in our culture, and then finally, our health, how we can be healthy in the midst of all these competing voices we're hearing. The real goal is how we take our faith and integrate it in our world so we have better lives, stronger families, and strengthen our nation. Join us for Culture and Christianity here in Murfreesboro. We're back now with Cooper Smith, the Director of Communications at the America First Policy Institute and a specialist on immigration there. Well, let's pick up where I left off. It's fair to say that most people are unaware that the U.S. Census includes people who are here illegally. And more importantly, that data all counts when it's used to determine how many seats each state gets in the House of Representatives. So if you fill Republican areas with enough outsiders, you can draw the district lines to suit candidates from any other party and water down conservative influence. Cooper, President Trump is taking this head on by directing a new census that excludes undocumented immigrants. Is that the answer, and can it be done?
It is absolutely the answer. Going back to 2020, this will end up in court. There's no doubt about it. There have been rulings on this from the highest levels of our judiciary system. So I'm thankful that the Supreme Court on most issues throughout the first term has been siding with reason and with the Constitution. So I'm hopeful that this will end up the same way as it relates to the Census Bureau and the counting of illegal illegal immigrants. But remember, politicians like Maxwell Frost and others, Beto O'Rourke, have said this repeatedly, that they want all illegal aliens to be naturalized citizens and be able to vote. This is their plan. They've said it out loud. We need to listen to them and take them at their word. This is not what they're telling to their donors, maybe, but this is what we're hearing from them. And we need to listen to them when they speak. And unfortunately, it's scary because that's what they want to do.
Well, let's move to the larger immigration issues. Tom Homan has made clear that this is about more than just people who are here illegally, the majority of who they're arresting are extremely dangerous. Listen to Homan.
About 70% of everybody ICE is arresting is a criminal. And they're taking them off the street. Every criminal alien they take off the street makes this country safe again. And every public safety threat and national security threat, added national security threats, we've arrested thousands of national security threats, again, making this country safe again.
Do you have any idea why the Democrats are willing to risk the safety of their own families and friends in order to defend the mess that Biden and Kamala Harris brought us?
Look, I think it's pretty simple. They have for decades conflated immigration with illegal immigration. And this is a key thing that your audience needs to understand. I'm sure they do. But Democrats and the media, mainstream media, the Associated Press and New York Times will often say Donald Trump or Borders Are Tom Homan are doing X to immigrants. Well, no, we're doing it to illegal immigrants. And they're right now focusing, because they think it hurts the president, on the fact that not 100% of the population that they're deporting have a criminal background. Well, I would bring up two things. The person might have a criminal background, just not here in the United States. So we might not know about it. And number two, the administration, the Trump administration, never said that we're going to exclude people for deportation based on their criminal history. They said we will prioritize the most dangerous people, the drug traffickers, the cartel members who they labeled as terrorists, which was a fantastic move. But they never exempted anybody from deportation. If you don't have a legal right to be here, you are subject to removal. When the Trump administration took over, there were millions of illegal immigrants here in the United States who had what's called a final order of removal, meaning they'd already gone through the immigration court process. And that judge had said, you are removable. And yet the Biden administration decided to sit on their hands and not remove millions of people. So we're talking about a population that even our own government can't understand how big it is, which is very, very concerning. And they, frankly, have lied to us for years. Even under Biden, they would repeatedly tell us there's only 11 million illegal immigrants here. Well, that's just factually untrue, and they lied straight to our faces about it. So, Tom Homan is absolutely right. The large majority of them are criminals and have a criminal background, and we need to prioritize them. But there will be ancillary arrests when you're going into a community, especially a sanctuary jurisdiction. So if they set up sanctuary laws and they don't allow ICE to go to, say, a jail setting, which is safe for both the migrant and for ICE, then they have to go into the community. So ironically enough, this is what the left wants. They want the arrests to happen in public because they want their activist base to get their phones out, to throw rocks, to do all these disruptive things. And sanctuary cities, unfortunately, are exacerbating the problem of illegal immigration.
Well, Cooper, I know you just returned from the border. What did you see while you were there?
Yeah, we did. So the American First Policy Institute was able to go down and send a few policy experts to the border to see firsthand the big, beautiful bill funding. So, of course, on 4th of July, the president signed the reconciliation bill into law, which provided billions of dollars for both Border Patrol and for ICE. And so we got to see what Border Patrol is doing down there. Obviously, they've had record low crossings at the border. But I think my concern, and I think American First Policy Institute's concern, is that while the border may be secure right now, we need to fortify it against any future administration who would seek to undo the policies and the infrastructure that the big, beautiful bill provides on day one. So the more that we add, the more work that they have to do on the back end to undo it. You saw on day one, President Biden said, no, we're not doing the border wall anymore. Not only that, we're going to sell the parts that the U.S. taxpayer paid for cents on the dollar, which was just completely insane in a number of ways. But from our trip, we were able to see firsthand what's happening at the border and some of the actions Border Patrol are taking to take the American people's hard-earned money and do good with it and protect our country.
Well, Cooper Smith, thanks for coming on again today. We'll be following these issues closely. We'd like to have you back on again.
Thank you very much. I will be back on. Thank you.
Well, in a moment, signs of hope, and later your emails with all sorts of interesting questions and comments. I'll be right back. Hey, I want to give you a personal invitation to join my podcast, Culture and Christianity.
For a person to think that the Bible is not political, you don't know the Bible.
We're trying to understand how to take our faith outside the walls of the church and live it out in the marketplace.
He will show you what to do, whether it's in our communities, in our country, or other places in the world.
So I brought in some friends, some people that are trying to do this.
How could anyone call themselves Christian and be pro-choice? Is beyond my comprehension.
But I think he wanted them open and in need of him every day.
We have been living through a season of unprecedented deception, propaganda, manipulation.
Everybody says, oh, Israel is attacking schools in the Gaza Strip.
I want to be a part of seeing culture and Christianity intersect. Hope you enjoy the podcast. I believe that we are in a season of shaking. The shaking may feel uncomfortable at the moment, but after the shaking, things become visible that weren't so clear before. During the last administration, our borders were wide open for a lengthy season, facilitated by the people who were in authority over us. They were telling us porous, unsecure border was just our imagination, that there was nothing to see. In fact, they counseled millions of people to do something illegal as a means of joining this nation. Well, in the meantime, we were lectured ad nauseum by people that have somehow achieved elite status, at least in their own minds, that an open border and welcoming whoever wants to come across it is the ultimate expression of compassion. And if we opposed it, well, we were accused of supporting people being put in cages and separating parents from their children. We were accused of being evil incarnate, and unfortunately, far too many churches picked up that mantra. Well, I don't think it's a biblical perspective, and I don't think an open border was about compassion at all. I'm grateful that now the covers have been lifted off a bit by this administration, exposing the corruption and the scheming that has been taking place. But how did we arrive at this place? Well, unfortunately, I believe it's because the church hasn't had the courage to talk about biblical perspectives. As Christians, by remaining silent, we have abandoned our culture to lawlessness. We're going to have to choose differently. We have to engage. A healthy, vibrant church is what brings freedom and liberty to humanity. If we'll do that, I promise there's more reasons for hope than despair. We'll be right back with your emails. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with us. If you ever miss a live episode, you can always go to ajnow.com. There's an archive there with all the programs. You can watch them at your leisure. You can even share them with a friend. The more, the merrier. And thank you for taking the time to send your emails. They're always a highlight to the entire team here. Terry from Sun City Center, Florida commented, "It's so sad and disturbing to hear about the slaughter of any people group, especially Christians. So many think that because it doesn't affect us, we can ignore it. Do we in this country truly believe that we will escape this type of treatment? If we ignore it now and say and do nothing, eventually we will be next. At the very least, won't we disappoint our Lord for not speaking up for those who can't on their own?" Well, Terry, I agree. We can't afford to sit in our comfort and convenience and imagine that we will escape the fate that the rest of the world faces. You know, the problem that we face really isn't the depravity of the wicked. It's the indifference, the ambivalence of the faithful. But I think we're changing. We're going to stop worshiping at the altar of comfort and convenience, and again, to take seriously invitation to serve our Lord. If we'll do that, there's good things ahead. Bill from Georgia wrote, "Will you be inviting knowledgeable guests in the new AI science and quantum computing science that will affect everyone in some way very soon?" Bill, we've had some guests, and as soon as we can find some that I can understand, we'll have them on as well. I'm quite certain it's shaping our future, and we need to understand what's happening. And finally, Jerry emailed, "You're a special blessing to me. I'm 93 years old. My dad was a great Bible-believing Baptist minister from the 40s to the 70s. You're one of the minority of preachers who still believe and preach the entire Bible. It would be so wonderful to be involved with a church led by you. Thank you for your TV ministry. I'll see you one day. God bless you." Well, Jerry, I think we are serving together. It's not our location. It's the authority over our lives, and we both serve the same King. Thanks for your encouraging words. And thank all of you for spending a bit of time with us today. I'm Alan Jackson, and you have a wonderful evening.